Today we're going to learn how to build major scales without using the piano keyboard. Step 1 is determining whether the key uses sharps or flats. So flat keys will be every key that includes the word flat, like G flat major, E flat major, B flat major, all those are flat keys, and also the key of F major, which only uses one flat, that is also a flat key signature. Sharp keys are everything else, except C major, which has no sharps and no flats. So that's the first step, determining whether you'll be needing sharps or flats. Step 2, you're going to recall the order of accidentals, the order of sharps, the order of flats, and also the rule that we learned for finding do. For flats, the order is B, E, A, D, G, C, F. And the rule that we learned for flats when you were learning to identify key signatures was the last flat is Fa. So we're going to keep that in mind. For sharp keys, the order of accidentals is F, C, G, D, A, E, B. And the rule that we learned for finding do is that the last sharp is T. So we need to keep these things in mind as we try to create our scale. Step 3, we're going to draw do on the staff, and then we're going to use the rule of sharps or flats to count up or down to our last sharp or flat. Flats, let's start with those. If you were given G flat major and you needed to draw that scale, you know that G flat major means that G flat is do. And since we're dealing with flats, you know that the last flat in this key signature is Fa. So let's look at how that's going to be done. G flat major, you're going to draw a G on the treble clef. You know that that's where do is. And you know that your last flat in this key is Fa. So you're going to go from do, which is the key that you're in, you're going to go up to Fa. Re, mi, Fa. This note is going to be your last flat. The name of this note is C. So the last flat in G flat major is C flat. That is important information going forward. Let's do a second example for flats. D flat major. D flat is do. And we're still using flats, and the last flat in the key signature is Fa. So on our treble clef, we're going to draw a D. I like to use this one. We know this is do, and we know that the last flat in any flat key signature is Fa. Last flat is Fa. So we're going to go up from do. Here's do, re, mi, Fa. Our last flat is whatever we call this. This is a G. So our last flat is G flat in the key of D flat major. Now let's look at some sharps. Let's use F sharp major as our first example. That means F sharp is do. And with any sharp key signature, the last sharp in the key signature is T. So first we're going to draw do. We're going to draw an F on the staff. There is an F. That's our do. Well, F sharp is do, but there is where F is on the staff. And we know that the last sharp is T. So the last sharp in this key signature is E sharp. Do, T. So our last sharp is E sharp. Second example, B major. We know that it's a sharp key because it does not contain the word flat, and it is not the one key of F major that doesn't include the word flat. So this is a sharp key signature, B major. B is do. we're going to draw a B on the staff, and then we're going to go down from Do to T. There's a B, that's our Do. We know our last sharp in any sharp key signature is T, so our last sharp in the key of B major is A sharp. There it is. Step 4. Hopefully we haven't lost you yet. You're going to write down the name of that last accidental that you need. That's the thing that we did over here. You're going to write down, if this is your key you're working on, you're going to write down A sharp. And you're also going to write down all of the previous accidentals in the order. In that last example we were just doing, A sharp is the last sharp, so what are all the sharps that come before that in the order? Let's talk about flats one more time. If your last flat, if you've determined that your last flat is G flat, you also need all the ones before G. That would be B, E, A, and D. If your last flat is A flat, then you also need all the ones before it. You need B flat and E flat. If your last flat is B flat, you don't need anything else because that is the first one in the order. Sharps. If your last sharp is D sharp, then you also need these three, F, C, and G. If your last sharp is E sharp, you also need all of these ones, F, C, G, D, and A. If your last sharp is F sharp, you don't need any other sharps because that is the first one in order. So you would just need an F sharp in that key. All right, we're coming down the home stretch. A scale, as you learned before, is a series of 8 consecutive notes starting and ending on Do. So you're going to draw your Do, and you're going to draw all the notes going up. You can choose any octave, but I always like to draw it in an octave where I have most of the notes on the staff, so I don't have to use a million ledger lines because those get kind of messy and it also takes longer. So let's use G flat major. You can start on any G. You're going to draw a G, and you're going to draw all the notes leading up to the next G, like this. There's a G, line, space, line, space, line, space, all the way to the next G. You're going to leave room for accidentals. You don't want to draw your notes right up on top of each other, because then if you need a flat, you're not going to have anywhere to put it. You're going to have to erase everything, and that's really annoying and time consuming, and it runs your eraser low. C sharp major, you would start on any C, and you would draw all the notes leading up to the next C, leaving space between each one. There's a C, all the way up to your final C. So then, your last step is to add those accidentals that you needed. G flat major, you would have already done this work, but G flat major, your last flat would have been C flat. You would also need all the ones in front of C flat in the order. So you need B, E, A, D, G, and C to be flatted. So next to those notes in the scale, you will draw your flat. B flat, that's here. E flat, that's here. A flat, that's here. D flat, that's there. G flat, you need one here and at the end, don't forget that those are the same note. And you need C flat, which is right there. So that is what your G flat major scale will look like. Let's do our other example, our sharp example, C sharp major. Before you arrived at step 6, you would have already discovered that you needed B to be the final sharp, that you needed all these other ones also to be sharped. So now you're just going to plug in the sharps next to those notes in your scale, next to your F, next to your C, next to your G, your D, your A, your E, and your B. A lot of sharps. It'll look like that. So let's just recap all those steps. This is a lot of steps. This would be a good screen to have ready when you're actually drawing your scale, so you can just kind of go down the line here. First up, You have to know if you need sharps or flats. Then you need to recall the order of sharps or flats, F, C, G, D, A, E, B, or B, E, A, D, G, C, F. And the rule for finding do, that the last flat is fa, the last sharp is T. That's the rule. Then you're going to draw do on the staff. Do is the name of the scale. So if your scale is D major, you will draw a D on the staff. Then you're going to use the rule for sharps or flats to find the last sharp or the last flat that you'll be needing. Then you're going to write down the name of that last sharp or flat, and you're going to write down all the ones that you need previous. Then you'll have a list of what notes are sharped or what notes are flatted. Then you can plug them in easily. Step 5, draw a scale, leaving room for accidentals later. Has to start on do and end on do. And then add those accidentals, which you listed in step 4. You're going to put them next to the notes in the scale, and that is it.